Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
All right, guys, today we have a special session of the Transform Sales Podcast Sales Software Review. We have Anna, Sales Executive of Dropcontact, and today we'll be speaking about a GDPR-Compliant contact enrichment. How's it going, Anna?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing amazing. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So just so that we can get started and spark this up, give us a little bit of background of what you're doing right now and get the audience to know you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, quick word about me first, and then I'll quickly introduce Dropcontact and our CEO because he's not here to talk today. So I've been in the company for about 2 years. We're a French-based company. And what we do is enrichment. So we're a SaaS tool. We enrich, standardize, correct, verify data, whether it is contact data or company data. And this tool was created by Dennis Cohen, who's our CEO. He was the marketing director. What he basically was challenged by was all the data in his CRM that wasn't up to date. And he just decided to create this tool to solve his problem, then so that there was a big demand for it. And went on with Dropcontact and filled in like this team with a lot of tech people. We also have obviously a sales team, but we're a very focused tech company. And what was really important was the GDPR compliancy, because we're based out of France, and in Europe, GDPR compliancy really important. We can see it also shifting in the US. So this is what a lot of people come to us for.
100%. Well, thanks for sharing that. And just to get a little bit more in depth on what Dropcontact is doing, I also want to get into what alternatives were your customers using before approaching you for this type of solution.
Yeah, so our customer, a lot of them had databases. So a lot of them came in with database, whether they were purchased, something they already own, from a merger with another company. Sometimes it's kind of obscure, like how they got it, or they purchased them, but they're not really sure what's data inside. Is it accurate? Was it actually purchased like legally? So that's like one of the source that they had before. Then they also use other enrichment tools. Same thing, not always knowing where the data is coming from and what's the quality and accuracy. And then they also use validation tools, since Dropcontact does enrichment and validation. So a lot of our customers have to use an enrichment and a validation. And that's just to see the deliverability purposes for their email. So they have to check that on top of having a database or on top of using an enrichment tool.
Got it. So I have a question. So for a lot of sales teams, what we've seen is that when there's data that's inaccurate, what tends to happen is that SDRs turn into BDAs. So now they have to go and validate more information. They got to do more research, right? So then a lot of the time prospecting get missed, right? Trying to deal with all this inaccurate data. So I feel like you're also enabling teams to be able to do what they do best, which is closing those deals. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. So we checked not only in terms of enrichment, being able to enrich an email, getting a job title, a LinkedIn, all that information, but also making sure that that email is still deliverable. If they already have that data, but it's just sitting in their CRM or in a database, they don't know whether that person switched company, and super time consuming to go and look for every single person in your database and be like, well, this person's still there and they're still working there. And if they're not, where are they? And what's their contact information at the moment?
Got it. And what are other challenges that your customers were running into with those alternatives that your software kind of helped them overcome?
So accuracy is like a really big deal. Deliverability as well, because sometimes you're looking for, you're looking for Ana Lopez in a certain company, and some competitors will give you an email for Ana Lopez, but not in the company that you're looking for. But the thing is, you dropped a file that has 10,000 lines. So you're not looking at every single line, making sure the quality is there. But because they have an Ana Lopez in the database, they'll just give you an email. So they provide an email. So the enrichment rate is super high, but then you're actually not getting the right contact that you're looking for. For us, since we do it in real time and we don't use database, we only use algorithm, we have to search and generate that email address and test it and verify it. So if we
Okay.
don't find it, we'll tell you we didn't find it, but we won't give you a random email address that isn't good and is going to hurt your domain.
Okay. So, for example, when let's say if I was the customer, right, what tends to be the deliverability percentage that most of those buyers have, and the success they have with you guys validating all those emails? So, what is an average?
So it's going to really depend what industry you're looking for. So in
Mhm.
terms of industry, you have to make sure you're in B2B,
Yeah.
and that the people that you're looking for their email are using the domain that is registered to their company. So what I'm saying is, for example, if you're trying to reach out doctors, their emails are not always going to be at the hospital that they're working for. And a hospital is technically not really a company, at least in France. It's a bit different in other countries. But all these are going to lower your percentage depending on the industry. It's really hard to say, but the best thing is really to try it. This is why we offer free credit so our customer can test it out and see the percentage for their industry.
Okay, so it's super important taking into account the industry you're looking to enrich those contacts with, right?
Yes, all B2B is fine, but for very small things like restaurants, for example, often the manager is going to use a generic email address. So generic is not our focus. We're really going to find personal, professional email address. When I'm saying personal, professional is like, I don't know, Ana Lopez at Dropcontact, but I'm not going to give you the contact at Dropcontact. We're not going to provide that. That doesn't have a lot of quality for you to reach out to contact at Dropcontact, for example.
I got it. Thank you for clearing that out for me. Just wanted to have that question. So let's get to the perfect or the most required part of the podcast, which is actually showing us a quick demo of how that works. So if you can share your screen, kind of walk us through those key features of your software that helped overcome the use case challenges we just spoke about.
We'll get it.
Yeah, let's get it.
So first I prepare like our page where our customers contacts can go and create a free account. So they'll have to create a free account to test it out. So I'll just log in straight into my account. So as soon as you're in your account, you have some free credit and you can test it out. So for Dropcontact to work, you're going to have some sort of input. The input is always going to be at least the first name, the last name, and the company. And I created an input file so you can see how it's going to look. So you're going to need an Excel file or CSV that has those information. So here I just created a scrapping of LinkedIn. You can use tons of different scrapping tools. We don't discriminate. You just have to have first name, last name, company as minimum, or first name, last name, domain. So here you can see I even have a couple extra information because I scrapped from LinkedIn. I took some very famous CEO, as you can see. And then I have also location. If you're looking for multiple location, we usually recommend that you have a country column. Here, everybody is in the US mostly. So I'm just going to go by default to the US because your account is going to be by default in one specific country. So you can switch country, no problem. But if you're going to do multiple country, just make sure you have that column that says country I'm looking for, this person in France, this one in the US, this one in the UK, for example.
Got it.
So I'm going to drop my file. I'll just take my file right here. I'll just drop it. It's going to tell me how many credit I'm going to use. So credit is a line. So I'm going to process my file. It's going to tell me how long it's going to take to process. So usually about 10 minutes, depending on how long, how big your file is. And I already have our output, so I can show you what it looks like. So basically, your output file, you can see my output file, correct?
Yeah, I see it.
Awesome. So you're going to have it clean, standardized, and enriched. We add civility, not as important for North America usually, but a lot of countries that have, like French, for example, we do use grammar like feminine, masculine. It depends. So you have to use that for the verbs if you don't want to speak neutral all the time. So that's something.
Is that considered best practice? Is that considered best practice?
Not always, but it's best to use it, I would say, because then you know that the person put some effort into it. That I'm not getting an email that was dedicated to for example, somebody who's a man, And I could see those little mistakes sometimes. And that
Yeah.
just shows that a company didn't spend too much time thinking about it when they did their mailing, their cold email.
No, I agree. And one of the
So,
things to point out as well, I would say in the first name, sometimes it's always good to validate the characters, right? If there's
mhm.
numbers in them, because that can also affect, right?
Yes, if you saw in the input, for example, a lot of time people will have little
Hmm.
emojis. Here, there's only one, but for job title, it's extremely common. My job title has an emoji like a little world, a little computer. I found this cute. It's
Yeah,
very
something
millennial.
there's something I actually saw from a lot of leaders in LinkedIn that are doing. They're putting an emoji in the beginning of the name so that they
Mm,
know when an email when it comes in or a message on LinkedIn is automated, and then they just overlook those emails. So it's always good to point that out as well for those that are
yes.
trying to bring those leads into a system like this, because like you said, it's not the best practice, but it could definitely affect the level of personality. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
and like it could affect the person's gonna overlook your email, thinking, well, this person isn't very professional. I might not be interested in
Yeah.
what they're selling, especially if you're selling cold email, for example, or outreach tools.
Yeah.
You have the current job title. You have the email, so that we enrich. So our algorithm generate the email, test it, and give you an email qualification. That's for deliverability purposes. So you know, nominative professional, it's the highest deliverability. So you got 90%, super high. Catch-all means the company has a catch-all domain, catching all types of emails. But you still have about 80% deliverability rate with those emails. And sometime, if we can't find it, we're not going to give you just a random email just because we couldn't generate it and test it out. So sometime you'll have, like here, an empty just cell if we couldn't
It would always
generate the
give you
email.
those same colors.
Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
it's color coded, so you can kind of see it right away. It's like easier.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, because I was always taught to only use valid all, which is those that are 100% verified, but those that are open to receive messages could always be a risk, but it's always good to try as well, right?
Yes, because otherwise you're cutting yourself from a lot of companies that protect
Yeah.
their domain. And if you have the right person, like your emails most likely will get to them. But because their domain is protected, I can't tell you 99% it's accurate because I'm obliged to tell you like this is a catch-all like domain, but you should still try to do it in your campaign. We recommend that you kind of like makes nominative, professional, and catch-all in your campaign, so you have a good deliverability rate. And we have tons of article on our website on these subjects as well. And then you have the LinkedIn profile, so we already had it, but it's like all cleaned up. So if you put it in your CRM, they're clickable links. And then the company's information. So company name, company phone number, if you can retrieve it, the website of the company, LinkedIn of the company, number of employee, and here we have the country as well.
Oh, and actually, and this is the first time I ever seen the color code as part of the information with the enrichment. Right?
Yeah, so
You would
green.
usually see like okay or valid, but the color code, like for me, I'm a very visual person, and for me, it does
Mhm.
help a lot, honestly.
Yeah, and all green is going to be the company side of information. You have all blue, it's going to be like the contact side of information. And if you had extra columns, like when I had the input file, I had connection degree, I had a couple other information. If we cannot treat it, we'll leave it on the same line. So if you needed to import it into your CRM or any other database, you're not losing the information. It's just there because it's not information that we format or we treat, but you have it there.
Got it. So just to make sure I got this correctly, so it's not only validating the email, but also the rest of the information, so everything is perfectly
Yeah,
matched correctly.
it's gonna enrich and valid, yeah, and it's gonna also standardize the phone number. That's a use case that we have quite a bit. If you have a lot of phone number that are standardized for SDR team that need to call and have like a certain format, that can speed up the process as well.
Okay, that does make a lot of sense because, for example, in South America, the way that the number looks on a WhatsApp, for example, and compared to the US has brackets, it has a hyphen. In South
Hmm.
America, it doesn't, right? So
Yeah.
it's always good to have the numbers exactly how those tools like WhatsApp has it, so that when you're
Yes.
looking for the contact is a lot quicker, right? And that's
Hmm.
something I could definitely highlight here. That's very unique.
Yeah, the goal is to save you time, make it like a speedy process for the sales team, for the marketing team if they need to update. So here we didn't have the email addresses, but you do have the use case where a marketing team has a massive list, for example, of people who signed up or went to a webinar, and they want to add information, standardize all the information, and then you could have email as an input, and then it could also clean the email and verify them and making sure everything is up to date and that you have also retrieved some extra information if you only have the email, the professional email, for example.
Got it. Well, thanks for sharing this portion of the demo. But it would also
Yeah.
be good to see how, when it comes to the integrations, how does that look, right? I have HubSpot, I have Zapier. How can I navigate through that to make sure that's set up correctly?
Yeah, so you have tons of integration. So if anybody goes on their account in the integration, they can use their API right here. You have your personal API that you can copy, and you have the list of all the tools that were integrated in. So you can use your API and use your credits. If you have so your credit that are right there, you can use them either with the API or with the file system, and it doesn't have to be separate. Like on 1 month, you could use it with a Zapier. You can use like 1,000 credit, for example, but also input a file, so you don't have to have two different accounts. You're using from the same pot of credit, if that makes sense.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that demo. I
Yeah,
did want to ask you a few questions in terms of like tasks, deliverables, and people that are involved in setting up this
yeah.
software for this use case. So, what is one of the things that I should expect as a buyer? Who will be there to support me, and what are the best channels? Let's say I want to get support. Would it be chat? Would it be email? Would it be a quick call? What do you suggest to be the top performing channel?
We have a really awesome customer service and support that is right there. So you have a lot of documents and resources that are already created where you could find your answer. So I definitely encourage to look at the blog or look at that little bubble where you're gonna have a lot of help already, a lot of tutorials also that we created. But you can always ask a question to the support and get your answer. We answer them in English, we answer them in French. Spanish is still a little bit harder, but we can use ChatGPT and we can make it work if you
The-
don't speak, for example, English or French. But yeah, the support is awesome. We have a really great team based out of France as well.
Awesome. Do you guys have like a dedicated CSM to kind of set me up, or do you feel that the tool itself is very easy to navigate? And let's say within 5 to 10 minutes, I'll be able to use the tool. Will that is that the
Yes,
case? Okay.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. So you can create an account super easily. All you have to do is go on our website. Sorry, it's right there. You go on our website, you do try it for free, and then you create your account. You can either create it like password and email, or you can do Google Connect. So very quick, very easy. You get 50 free credit to test it out.
Okay.
So
Nice.
with your 50 credit, you can test out a file. If you need extra help, there is a setup file, so you can see a file that is already made up that you can download, so you can already have the columns, and it's super simple. And if you have like trouble with, I don't know, just setting up the file, you can always like and talk to support. Most people figure out really easily. You don't have to have one account per company. You can have like several sales team members, or several people in marketing create an account, test it out. And if you're gonna purchase credits and everybody's gonna use the same account, then we usually recommend that you take like an account on like a contact, such as like marketing at your domain, so then everybody can log in and use their credit, for example.
Awesome. So let me just recap everything just to make
Mm-hmm.
sure I understood correctly. So if I'm a new buyer, the main thing I should do is go into the tool, create my account, integrate the CRM, integrate the tools that I'm using, upload the existing files or use API in order to get that data in, and then make sure I
Yes.
set up all the preferences in order to set up the enrichment. Right.
Yes.
There is a chat where I get support. The
Mm-hmm.
tool is easy for me to navigate. It's not going to require somebody to be there hands on to get me set up. So that means that if I have a sales team, right, anybody within the team can go ahead and understand how it works in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And if you are interested in to integrate it into your CRM, we have HubSpot integration and we do have Pipedrive integration. We're not going to go in details today, but they are available and we can do testing. But all that, we actually accompany like our customer. We do calls with them because it's a bit more in depth, but we are available for calls for that.
Got it.
Sorry, I just switched screen.
No worries.
But
So
yeah.
one of the last questions that I like to ask, right, to set the expectations, what are the KPIs that I should look out for as a buyer to feel that I'm being successful with the tools, um, as an overall, right? What would be
Yeah.
something I should look out for?
Overall, some really good KPIs is trying to look at how long your team is spending doing small things that could be replaced by a tool just like Dropcontact. So how much are they actually manually editing? How much are they looking for email by themselves? Like I have a customer who tell me like, I actually go and I look if we already have an email address for this person and I construct the email address and test it out. It's very time consuming. Don't really recommend that because that takes a lot of time. So how long your team is spending, um, just thinking, asking them those questions, like making sure they understand what are their capabilities and like what they could just supplement with a tool like that. And then your bounce rate as well for your email, making sure like do you have a high bounce rate? And also like the database, how old is your database? Do you actually update it often? And also like you're looking at in general, you're looking at 25% to 33%. That's the industry rate. So from one year to another, if you purchase a database, your database is just gonna be like really bad because you're losing all these information. You have those people that you have contact with, but they switch company and you have no idea. So you definitely want to look at how old is your database, how big it is, and could you actually be making 25% lead on top of what you already have without investing into a lead generation, but only investing into the data that you already own.
Got it. Got it. I do want to ask the last question to kind of close this
Mhm.
off is, do you guys also enrich LinkedIn profiles? So for example, if I import a list of profiles, right, and maybe the LinkedIn is, they change the URL or it's no longer the same link. Do you guys also enrich the LinkedIn?
Yeah, if you have a first name, last name, and a company, we will look for the LinkedIn profile and the job title. So it's not going to be 100% of the time, but you will get some LinkedIn, just like I showed here.
Okay.
We already had the LinkedIn, but if I
Got
didn't have it, we would get some LinkedIn and some job title retrieved.
Oh, okay, perfect. Because as you see, a lot of SDRs and AEs, they're also doing the social selling part, right? So also for me, for example, every time I send out emails, I also like to connect with the people I'm emailing through LinkedIn. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, once we have them connected, they can consume my content. I can reach out to them directly if we have a special uh, update or something about the our solution. Then is it tends to be very good channels to kind of nurture them, right? Because an email is a one-time hit most of the times, right? But in LinkedIn, it stays there as a community. So that's the reason why I ask. But no, that's honestly perfect, and I'm very glad you shared those few details that we prepared for. Anything else you would like to share to the audience?
We just actually came out with the new version of Job Contact 2.0. So we have better quality, better quantity of emails as well. So I definitely encourage people to test it out. It's free. You don't have to input any payment information. So that's pretty nice, especially for SDR or sales team. Like they shouldn't have to input their own credit card into a system. So they can test it out. You get 50 credit. You can do it for a month and you get a couple extra added. So I recommend that everybody just see for themselves like the quality of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Anna. It was great having you here. For those that are watching and are looking for a tool where they can comply with GDPR, and make sure you get the right information, enrichment, whether it's your LinkedIn, whether it's your emails, and it validates your data correctly. We will leave the listing link below the description. So if you see this on a newsletter, if you see this in a live, if you see this on a post, you know where to go ahead and see the tool and take action. Thank you for having us, Anna.
Thank you so much.
All right, you take care.